Hey, I'm Billy.
And I'm Mark.
And we're the Fuji Guys. We're here at Photokina at the Fujifilm booth. And Mark, what are we looking at?
We've got the new GFX medium format mirrorless camera that's just been announced this week. We've got a couple of them out the back. We're going to go and check them out. Let's get our first sneak peek of them, get our hands on them. Let's go.
Let's do that. So we have a little room at the media center, Fuji's media room, sorry, and they do have some of the accessories so we can get some really good hands-on.
That's right, we've got a few camera bodies, all the accessories and all the lenses for us to take a look at.
We're here, Mark, at the media room, and look what's going on here. GFX with no glass.
No glass.
That means we can actually pick this camera up.
We can take a look at it and we can really check out how it works.
So, Mark, we got our hands on the GFX camera. This is obviously Fuji's latest announcement of the medium format. We actually they call it the G format, right? And whether it's great, giant, we'll leave that alone.
It's just a nod to the heritage of medium format cameras.
Absolutely, great glass for medium format. The F just stands for film. Film-like look, film quality, and that's what people like about us, right? And what's the X?
And the X is the DNA of the X series. So all of the usability, everything that's gone into the X series cameras to make this designed for use by actual photographers is all here in the GFX as well.
So what's
the first thing? I'll say the most important thing is that. Did you get that?
That is a large
sensor. That is a very, very large sensor. 44
millimeters by 33 millimeters?
That's right, and it's 51 megapixels. It's
a Bayer filter array.
A Bayer filter array.
No low pass filter because it is, a lot of resolution. So it can actually capture and, not have more array issues as, less megapixel cameras would. And that's why, we chose this sensor, but it's also a focal plane shutter.
Correct. The actual F mount, which is a brand new mount that's for this for the F cameras, it has a focal plane shutter. It's got a very, very rigid, I think it's 6 millimeter deep mount, so the lenses will fix on there securely. And it's got a really, really short flange back, just like the X series of cameras, so we can design very small, very good quality lenses without having any kind of legacy support.
And it's the world's first mirrorless focal plane medium format camera.
That's right.
So that's quite exciting. We're holding the camera with one hand, so you can imagine how light this is compared to a real medium format camera. There's really no way you can do this for quite a long time. The styling, of course, is SLR-like, right? I think a lot of people were looking at potentially a rangefinder, but what are you doing?
I'm trying to take the EVF off.
So the EVF itself is included with this camera, of course, right?
Correct.
So there you have it. I have another version on me that actually has the same EVF, but it's attached to an optional accessory that allows you to rotate it. If you just hold my coffee cup for me, you can see I can actually rotate that, and I can kind of shoot, in this position. And this is nice because, in bright sunlight, I can actually see, which is awesome. Of course, the LCD on the back as well, which is, of course looks much larger than the XT2, can also do the tilt high and low, as well as the ability to also do the portrait tilt, so that you can shoot in a portrait orientation.
You can do that
of course,
on this one as well.
You can spy around your neighbor as well if you want to do that. It's kind of awkward. But yes, you can twist that way, and you can shoot it in sort of a vertical format like that. So that's actually really cool. So it's not a different viewfinder. It's the same viewfinder, but just attached to the little accessory that allows you to do that swivel tilt, right? I have the 110 millimeter lens. This is one of the first few lenses. There's, I think, 6 of them on the back. You can see it's a 63 millimeter f2.8, 3264, 120. We got a 110, a 23, and a 45. Obviously, you guys can check the website and the brochures for a little bit more details on the lens itself. The lens, weight-wise, is not that bad, actually.
Well, again, as you say, it's holdable in one hand. It's not a very big bit of glass.
So one thing I noticed was the LCD screen on the top, right? I know everyone's looking at that, and sometimes people were turning it off, and it didn't go off. And that's kind of cool because if you talk about Fuji's XDNA, you talk about the dials and controls, how you can see, some of those settings before you even turn the camera on. Well, this little LCD screen stays on, and it stays on pretty much when it's off. So it's kind of like an ebook reader, and it's kind of like having that XDNA, right, where you can actually just quickly view the settings.
Yeah, exactly. So you can set up all the exposure controls just like you can on an X Pro 2 or an X-T2 while the camera's off.
Well, it is a prototype. Oh, actually, you know what? My camera is a little bit bigger than yours, and that's because I also have the vertical grip. So that obviously is part of the system, making it a little bit easier, of course, to shoot portraits. But the way it's designed is quite interesting, right? Not the way this mic is designed, but this grip here, it's kind of nice because actually, as you rotate it from this position to that position, okay, it's actually pretty much the same distance. Right? So they really engineered this to make it very easy to use. And again, that's sort of that XDNA. That's the fine-tuning. I do love this cup as well, I gotta say. You got the locking dials, as you can see. I just can't get around the weight of this camera.
I quite like the on the ISO dial as well. You have an A for auto, but you also have a C, which then allows you to use one of the actual wheels to change the ISO rather than using the physical dial.
Yeah, good point. Actually, the lens itself has a C position, and that C position is similar to the T position on the shutter speed dial, and it allows you to use the command dial to control your aperture. So if you're coming from maybe a DSLR perspective, and you're not really into the dials, you have the controls like you would on a regular SLR. So you'd be kind of right at home. And then, of course, once you realize how good these actual dials are, you might make that full switch and use the dials and controls on the cameras themselves. So that's kind of nice. The screen itself, again, you can see the sideway piece is quite nice. It comes, again, I mentioned earlier, to tilt and swivel. You got the little locations of the buttons on the back there, as you can see. Very similar to an XT1. It kind of looks like an XT1, right?
Yeah, pretty much, especially with the viewfinder on. Without it, it's almost an X Pro without the viewfinder in terms of shape and size.
So there's a lot of things that's going to be built onto this camera. It's going to have Wi-Fi, of course. There'll be obviously tethering options because this is definitely a camera that can be used in the studios, both wirelessly as well as via USB, but we have to sort of sit and wait because it's still in its developmental stage. So whatever we say here, there might be some changes to it. Even the viewfinder itself, the size of that viewfinder might actually change as we get along. So I'm just trying to play with this. I don't want to break it. So Mark, I just switched cameras. I have a body grip now, and I have the EVF that doesn't have that swivel adapter that's attached to it, so it's a little bit different for me, but it's actually kind of nice in that.
So another point, we have dual card slot, like on the XT2 and the X Pro 2. I think you mentioned before about batteries. It does have a new battery from the existing system, but it's a lot larger, so we're not sure about specifications yet, but we're hoping it's obviously going to have a lot more shots per charge.
USB connectors, of course, on the side there.
HDMI out, USB 4 perhaps, USB something. Again, specifications, we're still not sure about them yet, and everything is still subject to change anyway.
Yeah, I see a PC Sync connection in the front as well, so for studio lighting, if that's your thing, of course you can do that, or you can use, of course, wireless trigger. It does work with some of the accessories that are existing in the X series lineup, like the EFX 500 flash unit. That will work well with this camera as well.
Okay, another thing to point out is on the viewfinder on the top there is still a hot shoe. So even with the viewfinder attached to the hot shoe, you can still attach other accessories like flash, etc., onto the top of the EVF.
Which makes sense, of course, right? And I like the idea of this actually. That if you wanted just to use the LCD screen alone and shoot in the studio, and that's what you like to do, that's fine. It tilts upwards like that, so again you can shoot that direction. But you do have the options of the EVF, making this camera, capable of shooting, outside, whether you're doing landscapes, whether you're doing weddings. You know, I mean, the size of this camera, I think if you just, it looks really like a DSLR. If I were to take this camera and put it in front of, say, you know, one of the full-frame DSLRs out there, I think it would kind of fit in that profile.
Yeah, it's definitely a similar size, similar weight to a lot of the top-end full-frame DSLRs, but obviously with a much larger sensor.
So, you know, this is really just a quick preview. Again, this is really in its prototype stage. Fuji's developing a few things like the microphone, the focal plane shutter. I know everyone probably was wanting, you know, something like a leaf shutter in some sort, but I think, you know, Fuji did it right. Personally, I think having the focal plane shutter allows potentially for other lenses that already exist, right? There's such good medium format lenses out there, and potentially, you know, Fuji may be looking at adapters, or others are looking at adapters, and you could use those lenses. And if it was just a leaf shutter, you know, potentially you wouldn't have, you know, a wide assortment of lenses to start off with, because this is a brand new system. It's going to start off with 3 lenses and then 6 lenses by the end of 2017. But, you know, that also opens the option for, you know, lenses that have leaf shutters built in. So if, you know, you're doing studio lighting, that might be something really cool to kind of use a leaf shutter lens on this type of camera. Again, this is still in its prototype stage, and Fuji's just probably thinking about these things. We got some time for them to kind of make that decision and see where we go to. But, you know, this GFX system has lots and lots of potential. So, Mark, what do you think?
Well, in the words of Toshiida, who did the presentation at our press conference on Monday, I think the game has definitely changed. This is a medium format camera that's actually going to be really aimed at DSLR users and open up the market. So people that are used to this sort of size camera, this sort of cost camera, you know, where they'd normally buy a DSLR, they can now be shooting medium format, much higher resolution, much higher quality images.
Well, there you have it, the GFX system. You know, if you want to learn more about this camera and other Fuji cameras, don't forget, again, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Fuji Guys. Until then, I'm Billy.
I'm Mark.
And we're the Fuji Guys. I know. Mark usually says until when, until then, until when, until what. But that's how Canadians talk. Motion pan. People just think I'm drinking a coffee with a wire sticking out of it.
Mohammed's happy because he's got his
Hi, I'm Billy from the Fuji Guys.
I'm Mark from the Fuji Guys.
And we are the Fuji Guys.